The desperate signal. The Titan research station hung in the void between Jupiter and Saturn, its massive arrays scanning the cosmos for any hint of intelligent life. Dr. Sarah Chen had spent 3 years listening to the endless whisper of cosmic radiation, hoping to find something that would change humanity's understanding of the universe forever. Tonight, her patience was finally rewarded. The signal cut through the background noise like a knife through silk. Sarah's coffee cup froze halfway to her lips as the translation algorithm worked to decode the transmission. The voice that emerged from her speakers was filled with terror and desperation, speaking in a language that had never been heard by human ears. "This is High Scholar Keth of the Zarathi Council," the alien voice pleaded through the computer's translation. "We broadcast this message to any who might hear us across the void. Our civilization faces total extinction. The Vex Dominion has come to our system with their harvest fleets. They have already consumed 3 of our colony worlds, taking our people for their twisted experiments." Sarah's hands trembled as she recorded every word. The transmission painted a picture of horror that made her stomach turn. The Zarathi described themselves as a peaceful species of scholars and artists, people who had spent millennia studying the stars and creating beautiful works of art. They had no weapons, no armies, only the desperate hope that someone in the galaxy might help them. "We estimate that 15 million of our people remain on our home world of Zephyria," the voice continued. "The Vex harvest ships grow in number each day. They do not simply kill us quickly. They take our children for their genetic experiments and leave the adults to starve in containment fields. We have perhaps 25 days before they complete their final harvest." The transmission included star charts and technical data about their location, over 400 light-years from Earth. Sarah's mind raced as she calculated the implications. This was first contact with an alien species, and they were facing genocide. The transmission ended with a final heartbreaking plea. "If any civilized beings receive this message, please remember that we existed. Remember that we tried to create beauty in the darkness. We do not ask you to die for us, only that you remember our songs when we are gone." Sarah immediately activated the emergency protocols, sending the transmission directly to Earth Fleet Command. Within 6 hours, every major world leader had heard the Zarathi's desperate call for help. The debates that followed would reshape humanity's destiny. In the Pentagon, Admiral Marcus Chen stood before the Joint Chiefs of Staff, playing the alien transmission for the 4th time. The room fell silent as the desperate voice filled the air, speaking of children taken for experiments and civilizations destroyed for entertainment. "Recommendations?" Admiral Chen asked simply. General Patricia Hayes spoke first. "Sir, we have no idea what we're dealing with. These Vex could have technology centuries ahead of ours. Sending our fleet could be suicide." Admiral Chen nodded thoughtfully. "General, how many ships can we mobilize for long-range deployment?" 3 full battle groups, sir. Roughly 70 ships including support vessels. But Admiral, we've never tested our fleet against alien technology. We don't even know if our weapons will be effective." Admiral Chen walked to the massive display showing the galaxy. A red dot marked the Zarathi system, impossibly distant, but somehow feeling very close. "General, our ships were designed to survive anything. Our crews have trained for every possible scenario. If we can't help people facing extinction, then what's the point of having a fleet at all?" The debate continued through the night, but Admiral Chen had already made his decision. Humanity had spent centuries learning to survive on a hostile world. Now they would use those hard-earned skills to protect others who couldn't protect themselves. "We launch in 72 hours, Chen announced. "Full deployment. Battle Group, Alpha for heavy assault, Battle Group Beta for rapid response, and Battle Group Gamma for evacuation operations. We're going to show the galaxy what humans do when innocents are threatened." Across Earth's orbital shipyards, the greatest mobilization in human history began. Ships that had been designed to fight space pirates and hostile corporate fleets were rapidly upgraded for long-range combat. The heavy battleships of Battle Group Alpha received additional armor plating and extended-range weapon systems. The fast cruisers of Battle Group Beta loaded supplies for months of operations. The massive cargo vessels of Battle Group Gamma were converted into refugee transports. Captain Rebecca Martinez stood in the hangar bay of her ship, the UES Defiant, watching engineers install emergency life support systems. Her cruiser could normally carry a crew of 300. Now it would need to house thousands of alien refugees if their mission succeeded. "How many can we fit?" Martinez asked her chief engineer. 8,000 if we pack them tight, Captain. Not comfortable, but they'll be alive." Martinez nodded grimly. Comfort was a luxury they couldn't afford. Survival was everything. Meanwhile, in the outer system, Commander James Liu prepared his stealth reconnaissance ship Shadow Dancer for immediate departure. His mission was simple but dangerous: reach the Zorathi system ahead of the main fleet and gather intelligence on Vex forces. "We're going in completely blind," Liu told his crew. "No backup, no support, just us and whatever we find out there." His weapons officer, Lieutenant Kelly Shaw, checked their defensive systems one final time. "How do we know this isn't a trap? These aliens could be leading us into an ambush." Liu considered the question carefully. It was possible, but the fear in the Zorathi voices had sounded genuine. "We don't know for certain, but if they're telling the truth and we do nothing, 15 million people die. If it's a trap and we're careful, maybe we can escape to warn the fleet." The crew of Shadow Dancer accepted the mission without further complaint. They were scouts and soldiers, trained to take risks so others could make informed decisions. Back on Earth, the families of the departing fleet gathered to say goodbye. At Luna City Spaceport, Captain Martinez hugged her wife and teenage son. Her boy asked why she had to travel so far to help people they'd never met. "Because that's what humans do," Martinez told him. "We help people who need help, even if we don't know them, even if it's dangerous. It's what makes us human." Similar scenes played out across human space. Wives kissed husbands goodbye. Parents held their adult children one last time. Friends shook hands and promised to see each other again. The human fleet was not just carrying weapons and supplies. It was carrying the hopes and prayers of an entire species. Admiral Chen received updates from across the fleet as final preparations were completed. 73 ships in total, carrying humanity's answer to the Zorathi plea for help. The largest military force Earth had ever assembled was preparing for its first alien war. "All ships, this is Fleet Command," Chen announced on the general frequency. "Today we make history. We go not as conquerors, but as protectors. We carry with us the finest traditions of humanity: courage, sacrifice, and the refusal to let evil triumph over good. The Zorathi people are counting on us. Earth is counting on us. Do not let them down." The fleet engaged their hyperspace drives together, 73 ships vanishing into the darkness between stars. Behind them, Earth continued its normal rotation, but the people knew that something momentous had begun. Humanity had taken its first step as a galactic power, choosing to be protectors rather than conquerors. In the depths of space, Shadow Dancer raced ahead of the main fleet, carrying humanity's first emissary to an alien war zone. Commander Liu and his crew knew they might be flying toward their deaths, but they also knew that 15 million innocent lives hung in the balance. The Zorathi had called out across the void for help, and the Deathworlders had answered. Into the unknown Shadow Dancer dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Zorathi system, its stealth systems immediately engaging to hide the ship from detection. Commander Liu and his crew stared at their displays in shocked silence. Gistor. Charts hadn't prepared them for the reality of what they found. 3 worlds hung lifeless in space, their surfaces scarred by massive bombardment. Orbital debris fields marked where space stations and defensive platforms had once protected the planets. But it was the 4th world, Zephyria, that drew their horrified attention. The planet was surrounded by a massive alien fleet unlike anything in human databases. The Vex ships were organic-looking constructs that seemed to pulse with malevolent life. They ranged from small harvester vessels to massive dreadnoughts that dwarfed anything humanity had ever built. Preliminary scans counted over 300. Ships maintaining a blockade around the dying world. "My God," whispered Lieutenant Shaw as she studied the sensor readings. "They're not just conquering the planet, they're dissecting it, Through their long-range scanners, the crew could see Vex harvester ships moving between the planet's surface and larger processing vessels in orbit. The nature of their cargo was something Liu didn't want to think about too deeply. "Commander, I'm picking up transmissions from the planet," reported Communications Officer Sarah Park. "Multiple sources, all underground. The Zorathi are still broadcasting." Liu ordered the transmission put on speakers. The voice that filled the bridge was weak but determined, speaking in the melodic language of the Zorathi that their computers translated in real time. "This is Scholar Keth broadcasting from Underground Complex 12. The Vex have taken the northern continents. We can see their harvest ships loading our people into containment units. They are not killing everyone immediately. They seem to enjoy our fear, taking their time to maximize our suffering." The transmission painted a picture of systematic cruelty that made Liu's hands clench into fists. The Vex were not simply conquering the Zorathi. They were torturing an entire species for their own twisted entertainment. "Any survivors in the orbital platforms?" Liu asked his sensor officer. "Negative, sir. Everything in orbit was destroyed weeks ago. The Vex control all space around the planet." Liu made a decision that would haunt him for years to come. "Take us into the inner system. I want detailed scans of those Vex ships. The fleet needs to know exactly what they're facing." Shadow Dancer moved carefully through the outer asteroid belt, using the floating rocks for cover as they approached the horror unfolding around Zephyria. The stealth ship's advanced sensors began cataloging the alien vessels, building a database of Vex technology that would prove crucial in the coming battle. The enemy ships were clearly biotechnological constructs, grown rather than built. Their hulls pulsed with veins of energy that served as both power distribution and structural support. Weapon emplacements sprouted from their surfaces like parasitic growths, capable of rotating to track targets in any direction. "Commander," Shaw reported quietly, "their energy signatures are off the charts. A single one of those dreadnoughts puts out more power than our entire fleet combined." Liu nodded grimly. The tactical situation was even worse than they had feared. But as he watched the Vex ships slowly tightening their grip around Zephyria, something else caught his attention. The aliens were not behaving like efficient conquerors. They were taking their time, savoring their dominance over the helpless Zorathi. "They're playing with their food," Liu muttered. "That might be the edge we need." Before he could elaborate, alarms began sounding throughout the ship. A Vex patrol vessel had detached from the main fleet and was heading in their direction, its sensors actively scanning the asteroid field. "All stop," Liu ordered quietly. "Minimal power, let them pass." Shadow Dancer went completely dark, drifting like another piece of space debris among the asteroids. The Vex patrol ship moved past them, its alien hull gleaming with bioluminescent patterns. After 10 tense minutes, it continued on its patrol route. As soon as the immediate danger passed, Liu ordered his communications officer to attempt contact with the planet's surface. "Scholar Keth, this is Commander Liu of the Terran Reconnaissance Fleet. Do you copy?" The response came back almost immediately, filled with desperate hope. "Commander Liu, you are the humans who received our transmission? How many ships do you have?" Liu hesitated before answering. The truth would devastate the Zorathi, but they deserved to know. "Scholar Keth, we have 70 ships en route to your position. They will arrive in approximately 18 hours. The silence that followed stretched for nearly a minute. When Keth finally responded, his voice was filled with despair. 70. Ships against 300? Commander, we are grateful that you came, but you will only die alongside us. Scholar Keth, Liu replied firmly. You need to understand something about humans. We come from what we call a deathworld, a planet that spent millions of years trying to kill us. We learned to survive by being smarter, faster, and more adaptable than anything else on our world. The Vex may have superior technology, but they've never faced an enemy like us. Over the next several hours, the surviving Zorathi shared everything. They knew about their captors. The Vex Dominion was an ancient empire that had conquered dozens of star systems, always using the same tactics. They would arrive with overwhelming force, destroy any resistance, and then slowly harvest the population for their experiments and entertainment. They do not simply kill, Scholar Keth explained through the encrypted channel. They study us, experiment on us, use our genetic material for their own purposes. The lucky ones die quickly. The others become part of their collection. Liu felt his stomach turn as he listened to the details. The Vex were not just conquerors. They were cosmic parasites who fed on the suffering of other species. Scholar Keth, I need you to gather every technical detail you have about Vex ship designs, weapons, and tactics. When our fleet arrives, we'll need every advantage we can get. As the hours passed, Shadow Dancer continued its reconnaissance mission, mapping Vex patrol patterns and identifying key vessels in their fleet. The massive command ship was easy to spot, a grotesque amalgamation of organic technology that pulsed with dark energy at the center of the formation. Lieutenant Shaw worked tirelessly to analyze the alien weapon systems. Commander, their primary weapons appear to be some kind of directed energy beam, but there's something else. The smaller ships are equipped with what look like capture devices, designed to disable rather than destroy. They want prisoners, Liu realized. That's why they're not just bombarding the planet from orbit, they want the Zarathi alive for their experiments. This revelation changed everything. The Vex were not fighting to win quickly. They were fighting to maximize their harvest of victims. This tactical preference might be the weakness humanity needed to exploit. As the main fleet's arrival time approached, Liu prepared his final intelligence report. The tactical situation was desperate, but not hopeless. The Vex had superior numbers and technology, but they had grown complacent from centuries of easy victories. They had never faced an enemy that fought with the desperate cunning of Earth's apex predators. All ships, this is Shadow Dancer, Liu transmitted on the fleet's emergency frequency. Intelligence package is complete and uploading now. Be advised, the enemy is stronger than anticipated but may be vulnerable to unconventional tactics. The Zarathi are still alive and fighting. Recommend immediate assault upon arrival to prevent final harvest operations. The response came from Admiral Chen himself. Understood, Shadow Dancer. Excellent work. All units, prepare for combat deployment. We're going to show these Vex what happens when they threaten innocent people in human space. Liu smiled grimly as he listened to the Admiral's words. Technically, the Zarathi system was nowhere near human space, but Chen was making a larger point. As of today, anywhere innocent people were threatened was considered human space. Earth was announcing its intention to become the galaxy's protector. In the depths of space, the human fleet dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation, their dark hulls bristling with weapons. The Vex had expected their latest harvest to proceed without interference. They were about to learn why humanity had earned its place as Earth's dominant species. The Deathworlders had arrived and they were angry. The turning tide. The human fleet materialized at the edge of the Zarathi system like a storm front breaking across clear skies. 73 ships in perfect formation, their hulls dark against the stars as they rapidly accelerated toward the inner system. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of his flagship UES Sovereign, watching the tactical display update with enemy positions. 317 Vex vessels confirmed, reported Commander Sarah Mitchell, his second-in-command. They're moving to intercept us, Admiral. Chen nodded calmly, studying the alien fleet movements on his display. The Vex ships moved, with organic fluidity, but their formation was predictable, designed to intimidate rather than adapt. They had grown complacent from centuries of easy victories. Signal all ships, Chen ordered. Battle formation Delta. Battle Group Alpha takes the center. Beta flanks wide left and right. Gamma holds position for evacuation duties. Remember, we're not here to win glory. We're here to save lives. Throughout the human fleet, captains received their orders and began implementing tactics that had been drilled into them during years of training. But this was different from fighting space pirates or corporate raiders. This was humanity's first alien war, and everything they had learned would be put to the ultimate test. Captain Martinez received the formation orders aboard UES Defiant, her cruiser positioned on the far right flank of Beta Group. Her weapons. Officer Lieutenant Torres ran final checks on their missile systems while the crew prepared for combat. Captain, Torres reported. All weapon systems are green. Armor plating is sealed and emergency protocols are active. Martinez nodded, her eyes fixed on the approaching Vex fleet. The alien ships were beautiful in a terrible way, their organic hulls pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that seemed almost hypnotic. But she had read Shadow Dancer's intelligence reports. Behind that alien beauty lay a cruelty that threatened to destroy an entire species. The first Vex communication came across all frequencies, transmitted in a dozen languages as their computers analyzed human transmissions. The voice was unlike anything humans had heard before, melodic but filled with predatory hunger. Primitive vessels, you have entered a Vex harvesting zone. Your interference is not acceptable. Withdraw immediately or be added to our collection. Admiral. Chen stepped forward on his bridge, allowing the aliens to see him clearly. He was an old man with steel gray hair and calm eyes, but something in his expression made even veteran officers take notice. Vex Fleet, this is Admiral Chen of the Terran Defense Force. You have exactly 60 seconds to release all prisoners and withdraw from this system. After that, we will consider you hostile targets and act accordingly. The alien laughter that echoed across the communication channel was like music played on broken glass. Admiral Chen, you amuse us. Your 70 ships against our 300. Your primitive technology against our mastery of biotechnology. You will provide excellent specimens for our laboratories. Chen checked his chronometer with deliberate calm. 50 seconds, Vex Fleet. The alien commander's tone shifted from amusement to anger. You dare to threaten the Vex Dominion? We have conquered 40 star systems. We have harvested billions of inferior species. You will regret your arrogance. 10 seconds, Chen announced to his fleet, ignoring the alien threats completely. Then he looked directly into the camera. You're about to learn why Earth is classified as a death world. The communication ended. For a moment, space was silent except for the hum of engines and the charging of weapon systems. Time, Chen announced quietly. All ships execute Thunder Protocol. Show them how apex predators fight. The human fleet exploded into motion with a coordination that caught the Vex completely off guard. Instead of the slow, predictable advance the aliens expected, the human ships scattered into attack formations that made no tactical sense by conventional military doctrine. Battle Group Alpha, led by Captain Stevens aboard UES Juggernaut, dove directly toward the center of the Vex formation. Alien weapons opened fire, energy beams and bioplasma bolts filling space between the fleets. The humans should have been torn apart in the opening seconds. Instead, their ships absorbed the punishment like living fortresses. Energy weapons that should have melted their hulls barely scorched the armor plating. Bioplasma that should have eaten through their structures was deflected by overlapping shield matrices. Impossible, whispered the Vex fleet commander as he watched his most powerful weapons fail to stop the human advance. No ship can survive that concentration of firepower. Captain. Stevens smiled grimly as his battleship shrugged off another volley of alien fire. The Vex had built their weapons to terrorize civilizations that had never known real warfare. But humans came from a world where everything was designed to kill them. Their ships were built to survive asteroid impacts, solar radiation, and the crushing depths of gas giant atmospheres. The first human ship reached the Vex formation and opened fire. The results were devastating. Human weapons designed to punch through asteroid rock and space debris tore through Vex bioarmor like tissue paper. A massive alien dreadnought shuddered as human missiles found weak points in its organic structure. But the humans were not fighting for destruction. They were fighting for rescue. As Battle Group Alpha engaged the main Vex fleet, Battle Group Beta implemented a flanking maneuver that had never been tried against alien technology. Captain Martinez led her squadron in a wide arc around the enemy formation, using gravitational slingshots around Zephyria's moons to build incredible velocity. Target their harvester ships, Martinez ordered her weapons officer. Disable, don't destroy, there might be prisoners aboard. Her squadron struck the Vex harvesting vessels with surgical precision, crippling their engines and life support without destroying them completely. Human boarding parties immediately launched, fighting through alien corridors to rescue Zorathi prisoners. Sergeant Maria Santos led one such boarding action, her squad moving through a Vex bioship with practiced efficiency. The alien architecture was like moving through the digestive system of some massive creature, but her team had trained for hostile environments on Earth's most dangerous continents. "Prisoners located," reported Corporal Kim over the radio. "Looks like about 300 Zorathi in some kind of stasis pods." Santos studied the alien containment system, her mind racing to understand the biotechnology. The Zorathi were suspended in a viscous fluid that seemed to be keeping them alive while suppressing their consciousness. "Start extraction procedures," Santos ordered, "and watch for Vex defenders. They won't give up their prizes easily." As if summoned by her words, a group of Vex soldiers appeared at the far end of the bio corridor. The aliens were larger than humans with chitinous armor and limbs that ended in razor-sharp claws. They moved with the fluid grace of natural predators. But as the fight began, the Vex discovered something that would haunt their species for generations to come. Humans were not the largest or strongest predators in the galaxy, but they were the most adaptable. They fought with weapons, tools, and a cunning that turned every environment into an advantage. Santos and her squad moved through the alien ship like ghosts, using the bioship's own organic systems against its defenders. They turned the creature's immune responses against the Vex, triggered muscular contractions that crushed their enemies, and exploited the ship's neural pathways to cause system failures. Within 20 minutes, the harvester ship was secure and its Zorathi prisoners were being evacuated to human vessels. Similar scenes played out across the battlefield as human forces systematically dismantled the Vex fleet. The aliens had superior technology and numbers, but they had never faced an enemy that fought with the desperate ingenuity of a species that had clawed its way to the top of a hostile world's food chain. Admiral Chen watched the battle unfold from his command bridge, coordinating the three-dimensional chess game of fleet combat. The Vex were adapting to human tactics, but slowly, like a massive organism trying to change course. "Admiral," Commander Mitchell reported, "Battle Group Gamma is beginning evacuation operations on the planet's surface. Initial reports indicate over 2 million Zorathi survivors in the underground complexes." Chen nodded, his eyes never leaving the tactical display. The rescue operation was proceeding, but the Vex still had significant forces in reserve. The real test was yet to come. As if responding to his thoughts, the alien fleet began a coordinated counterattack. The massive Vex command ship, a bio-construct the size of a small moon, moved toward the center of the battle. Energy readings spiked as it charged weapon systems that dwarfed anything the humans had yet encountered. "All ships concentrate fire on the command vessel," Chen ordered. "Everything we have." The combined firepower of the human fleet struck the Vex flagship like a concentrated solar flare, but the massive bioship absorbed the punishment, its organic armor regenerating damage almost as quickly as it was inflicted. "Admiral, conventional weapons aren't penetrating their flagship's defenses," reported the weapons officer. Chen studied the tactical display, his mind racing through alternatives. Then he noticed something in Shadow Dancer's reconnaissance data that gave him an idea. "Commander Liu, this is Fleet Command. I need you to guide a strike package to the following coordinates." Chen transmitted a targeting solution that focused on what appeared to be a neural cluster in the bioship's structure. Liu acknowledged the order and began guiding a squadron of human bombers toward the alien flagship. The ships moved like predators stalking prey, using debris fields and energy distortions to mask their approach. When they struck, it was with surgical precision. Human weapons designed for mining operations punched through the bioship's armor and detonated inside its neural centers. The massive vessel convulsed as its biological systems went into shock. The effect on the Vex fleet was immediate and devastating. Without coordination from their command ship, the alien vessels began fighting. As individuals rather than a unified force, human squadrons exploited the confusion, picking off isolated ships and rescuing more prisoners. As the battle reached its climax, Scholar Keth's voice came through the communication system from the planet's surface. "Admiral Chen, we are detecting massive evacuations from the underground complexes. Your people are saving us." Chen smiled for the first time since the battle began. "Scholar Keth, that's what humans do. We protect those who can't protect themselves." The final phase of the battle saw the remaining Vex forces attempting to withdraw from the system. But Admiral Chen was not finished with them. The aliens had tortured an entire species for their own entertainment. They would not be allowed to escape unpunished. All ships pursue and engage, Chen ordered. No Vex vessel leaves this system. The space around Zephyria became a graveyard of alien bioships as human forces completed their victory. Of the 317 Vex vessels that had threatened the Zorathi homeworld, only 43 managed to escape into hyperspace. The rest were destroyed or captured. In the aftermath of the battle, the true scope of the human victory became clear. The evacuation of Zephyria proceeded around the clock, with human ships taking aboard over 2 million Zorathi refugees. The grateful aliens could barely comprehend that strangers from across the galaxy had risked everything to save them. Scholar Keth was among the first to board a human vessel, tears streaming down his elongated face as he saw his people finally safe. "Admiral Chen," he said through the translator, "how can we ever repay this debt?" Chen shook his head gently. "Scholar Keth, there is no debt. Today, humanity learned that we are not alone in the galaxy. More importantly, we learned that we have a responsibility to protect those who cannot protect themselves. As the human fleet prepared to depart the Zorathi system, they left behind a message that would spread throughout the galaxy. Earth had announced itself to the universe not as conquerors but as guardians. The Deathworlders had chosen to use their strength to protect the innocent. On Earth, news of the victory was met with celebration and mourning. 12 ships had been lost in the battle, meaning over 3,000 human lives sacrificed for people they had never met. But already new volunteers were stepping forward to join the fleet. The galaxy was vast and full of dangers, but it was also full of people who needed protection. Humanity had found its calling among the stars as the species that would answer when the innocent called for help. The Zorathi were safe, but their rescue was only the beginning. Earth had taken its first step as a galactic power, and there would be others who needed their help. The fleet headed home carrying refugees, heroes, and the promise that no species would face extinction alone while humans drew breath. The Deathworlders had spoken, and the galaxy would never be the same.